Hey guys, Marcinkin here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so today we are going to be taking a look at the EZA TEQ Bullha with her EZA, fully level 10 links, rainbow, and we're going to see how she looks. Now, this is a unit that I was kind of looking forward to her EZA, just because I feel like she's on a couple of teams that could definitely do with support and having some better support units. I'm not too sure how she's going to have turned out, but let's have a look. So, massively raises attack, does supreme damage and lowers attack and defense. So, she infinitely stacks attack, and it is massively raising each time. But she doesn't have a lot of attack to start with, so it's not like she's going to be getting, like, you know, ridiculous jumps every single turn. She has 88% defense, and then an additional 88% defense when performing a super. All allies keep +3 and attack 40%. Then she gets attack and defense 20% up to 40 and chance to dodge 35% up to 70 per Peppy Gal's ally on the team. Now it does include her, so she is getting one of those 20% buffs and 35% chance to dodge all the time. And then you just need another Peppy Gal's unit on the team in order for her to get the full buff. Then she gets another 3 key and chance to perform a crit 18% when there is an ally whose name includes Vegeta on the team. And then an additional 88% attack when performing a super if that ally is attacking in the same turn. Now, she doesn't have a 200% leader yet, so we are running her on the Super Saiyan 4's team. Now, technically, we have a Vegeta on the rotation, so she is going to get that extra attack. She says 5 links with this Bullpan, one of her better link partners, and to be honest, the main reason why I brought her is because she's another Peppy Gal's unit, right? So Bullha does have her full passive active in terms of dodging and such. So she's starting off with only 140k defense, but remember, she does get 88% when performing a super. So she's going to be going up over 200k, actually over 250 potentially as well. So that's not the worst when you then also couple in the fact that she has 70% chance to dodge. But the problem is she doesn't have any other sort of utility on top of that. So if you're going into some of the more difficult red zone stages, 2.82 for the first turn, by the way. So if you're going into some of the more difficult red zone stages, one dodge could potentially be, or one dodge not going off, is potentially all it could take for you to then die. Now, the only reason I'm doing the Vegeta event for her showcase is I used up my last attempt for the day on the GT Shadow Dragons stage because I went into that stage to show her off, and she essentially just immediately didn't dodge 2 attacks in slot 1, and one of them was a super, so I just died immediately. Now, of course, that is potentially going to happen, right, with any of these units where you're relying on dodge. We've already taken a look at the new Fasha, the new Chilai that just came out, who, again, like, once she gets a dodge or 2, she builds up all that extra defense, and then we literally saw in the showcase I did for her at 55%, she went from taking 100k to then dodging the next couple of attacks and then getting hit for 9 damage. So that obviously, you know, there's still a bit of RNG that you've got to kind of have go your way. But the problem with Bullha is she obviously doesn't have anything like that. She doesn't have that, like, extra build-up mechanic or anything. So you could go up against, now obviously, you know, normally when it comes to team building, you don't want to take type disadvantage units against really hard bosses anyway. But you could take her up against, like, Omega Shenron, and then she could there could be like 4 attacks in the slot where she is, and she could dodge 3 of them and then the last one just kill you. Or like, say it's like the STR phase, right, and the last one is a super, because you always know where the super is from the final phase. But like, yeah, she could dodge. It doesn't matter if she dodges like 4 attacks in one slot and then gets hit by the 5th one. Against some of these more difficult bosses, a super attack probably isn't even the best example. Like, a normal attack is going to do a lot of damage to her, whereas somebody like Chilai, if she dodges 4 attacks and then gets hit, she's taking double-digit damage from pretty much any boss in the game, right? I'm not sure about Cell Max. I haven't recorded that video yet, so it'll be interesting to see if she dodges a couple of attacks, if she can actually tank normals from him for double digits as well. But the problem is with units like Bullha is that they're obviously not going to do that. And Cell Max is another example. Whilst we often talk about the fact that Cell Max isn't a great unit to use to evaluate units, Cell Max is an example of the kind of event that I'm talking about, right? If there's like 4 attacks in a slot and you put Bullha there, if she dodges the first 3 attacks and then gets hit by the 4th one, you're probably still dead. Like, her defensive stat is not particularly high. So, that's the biggest problem, right? Is it doesn't matter if you dodge the first couple of attacks. If you then don't dodge the last one, you haven't built up any defense. And of course, you know, we've all seen the constant runs, the memes about like dodge the normal, eat the super. But she is the perfect unit where that will just end your run. You could dodge like 2 normal attacks in a row and then eat a super, and then she's going to die because her defense is just not good enough, right? So we'll see on this rotation. We have the support from Pandel over here. We don't have any extra links. Pandel, do you give defense? I think you do, right? Yeah, 30%. So we now have 130k. Wait, did she lose out on... Did she get hit by a super previously? I thought she had more than that before. Did she? Or did she only have 120? But yeah, now when she gets her 88%... Actually, yeah, I think it was lower, right? When she gets her 88% now, she's going to be getting close to 300k defense, which is good. But again, it's 300k defense with nothing but just raw numbers. So again, against like difficult red zone bosses, Cell Max, if the dodge doesn't go off, 300k defense is not enough to tank even normal attacks from some of the more difficult bosses, and especially if they are type neutral or at worst case scenario type disadvantage. So very much like UI Goku, if she's getting the dodges consistently, then she can look really good on the team. I mean, you can take AGL UI Goku into Cell Max and he could dodge every attack and then you never have to worry. But when he doesn't dodge, he's taking like 200 to 300k from normal attacks, because obviously he's a bad example because he's got type disadvantage, but he is also a Dokkan Fest LR. And I'm talking about my experience with using my one that's like Rainbow level 10 links. So very, very strong as a unit overall. But yeah, some of these more difficult content, it's the reason why people think that UI dropped off like when he did, right? Because when content started to become more difficult to the point where even normal attacks would do crazy damage to some of these units, just being able to survive relying on a dodge chance is not the most reliable way to proceed. Because like, let's see here, for example, there's a lot of attacks here in slot 1. We have 140k defense on this turn. So our post-super defense is going to be, what, just over 250. But that's post-super. We only have 140k pre-super. So if this attack in slot 1 is a super attack and we don't dodge, even though this is only the Vegeta event, would we die? Actually, we have a lot of HP. But okay, we got the dodge. Now we super and get the additional defense. Now with a Vegeta on rotation, she's now getting up to like 4.2 million. But you also have to remember we're using her on rotation, which realistically, anytime you use her on one of these teams, you're going to be using her as a support unit, which means she's floating in the 3rd spot. So while she does have the massively raises attack, she kind of needs it because she's only going to be around like every 4 turns, right? So it's not like she's going to be getting to stack every single turn like we are with this one. And you're not going to be running units like Bulla, right, to get, Bullpan, to get her full like link set, right? So if we look at her best link partners, Bullpan is there for 5. You've got like B-Pan is a 5 link unit, and the STR Pan is a 5 link unit. Both of those are like okay units on the team. I've done 200% showcases for both of them recently though, and it's been very obvious from the content of that run that they can't really hold their own against the toughest bosses. And then when you go down to 4 links, now TEQ Pan is there for 4 links, but she's not on her team, ironically enough. She's not on Bond of Friendship or Dragon Ball Seekers, but she on a GT based team like GT Heroes, she will link up with TEQ Pan. There's no Vegetas, in fact, that share, because Kid Vegeta doesn't count, like the Vegeta Junior. In terms of like a Vegeta that you could run actually on GT Heroes, there's like the free-to-play Great Ape one, but they only share like 3 links, and he's not exactly super runnable. So link set is going to be an issue for her as well, because remember, in this scenario, we're showing her off like with a good link partner, running these extra Vegetas to give her these extra buffs and stuff like that, which on a lot of team builds, realistically, you're just not going to be using her in that way. So let's see. Okay, so I mean, just like UI, when the dodges come through, it's really good. But we did take a normal attack pre-super without dodging, and we took 50k. So compare that to a difficult red zone boss as opposed to blue Vegeta in the Vegeta event. And obviously she's going to be taking a lot of damage. Now, judging her pre-super is also probably not ideal, of course, because you probably are just going to be using her as a slot 3 unit. So she's usually going to be getting that 88% defense before she super attacks. But again, even on turns with support, the highest we've seen her potential defense is just under 300k, which again, if you're not dodging against some of these harder bosses, she is potentially going to take quite a lot of damage. I mean, her attack stats gotten up to a reasonable amount here for a support unit, but again, a lot of that is down to the fact that we have her on main rotation, so she's been super attacking every other turn. Now, I did say that my one, I messed up the build. I actually can't remember if I did show it, but I messed up the build for my one. I say that. Before she got her EZA, full dodge, I would say, was the best build. And she didn't have a super attack effect, so there was no real need for her to get an additional, especially as a support unit. So I just gave her crit and dodge. So I have now given her an additional skill orb, because before actually recording this video, I was kind of hoping she would be a useful support unit on some of these teams. So I thought I would give her some skill orbs. If I pull any extra copies, I probably will change a bunch of that crit to additional, but going like full dodge as we are here, like 15 is the most dodge she can have without skill orbs, is probably the way to go, because you just don't want her to take hits like at any point. And when we look at her teams, obviously she needs a Peppy Gal ally to get her full buff. So if you're using her on Vegeta family, there's not really any options for that. Obviously Peppy Gals, of course, Hybrid Saiyans, there are other options. Youth, not so much. Siblings Bond, there are some on there. GT Heroes, again, not really so many. We had to bring like Pandel and Bullpan, because obviously the Pans don't count as being Peppy Gals units. And then Bond of Parent and Child is a pretty big team. Obviously Global doesn't have the proper version of it. We only have the category because of the free-to-play unit from the Worldwide Download Celebration. But she's on a bunch of teams that you could, you know, use her on. And with like Bond of Parent and Child, Vegeta Family, GT Heroes, you are going to have Vegeta units to get her attack buff as well. But let me know what you guys think down below. I think she could be very good. Obviously, in events that disable dodge, I probably wouldn't bring her. I mean, Broly is AGL, so in the final phase, she does have type advantage, but she only has 300k defense. So if he supers her, she can't dodge, and she's still going to take quite a decent amount of damage. So I probably wouldn't rely on her for some of these more difficult events. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.